To some news that came in a while ago, former President John Dramani Mahama has withdrawn his request to government to permit him to continue to stay in his current residence in cantonments. Over the past couple of days, the accommodation for the former president has become the topical issue for discussion across various media platforms. The former president is alleged to have refused to vacate his current residence for the new vice president to move, leaving him stranded. President Mahama has, since his tenure as vice president in the Tamils administration, lived at that facility officially designated to house all vice presidents. He continued to reside in that state bungalow even when he became president, following the seeming unfavorable public discourse on the propriety of the president to insist to live in that apartment after his tenure as president expired. The former president has since a few hours ago written a letter to President Akufo-Addo withdrawing the request. My colleague Jennifer Kwabena has more and has joined me in the studio to share the content of this letter. Jennifer, now, what does this letter say?
Well, this letter, which was actually dated January 10th, yesterday, Tuesday, January 10, 2017, it's addressed to sitting President Akufo-Addo, signed by former President John Dramani Mahama and copied to the Asante Otumfuo Osei to the second at Menchia Palace. And it expresses his withdrawal of the request to continue residing at his cantonment residence, that's at number 3 Prestige Link, as well as using his office at number 6 3rd Avenue Ridge. And the letter goes on to say that it was an earlier agreement between his office and that of the transition team. And I also quote here that it says, you will recall, Mr. President, that contrary to the erroneous impression created by some persons in government and the interpretation given to the formal letter submitted on my behalf by Mr. Julius Deborah, it was a follow-up to an agreement we had on my choice of accommodation and office, and I had never requested to purchase the property, but actually to stay at that property, continue living at that residence and using the Ridge office was something that they had perhaps in the earlier agreement agreed to do. Not an outright purchase per se, but just him remaining there. But he does explain in that letter that he thinks all the media furore around this issue has related in some very bad press for the transition team, between both sides of the transition team, and he thinks it's better for him to rather withdraw that request. So that's what he adds here, that his request is humbly withdrawn. So for now, that issue has been laid to rest.
All right, okay, so we know the president, the former president, is still insisting that there was an agreement, but we know that the spokesperson on the transition team of the NPP then says that there was no such agreement. And even senior minister designate Osafo Mafo came out to say there was no such agreement. But in the letter you're holding now, yes, the president insists that there was an agreement.
He also adds in the second paragraph that the request that he made to continue staying at his cantonment's residence and use the Ridge office as his personal office, it threatens the spirit of cooperation, but what actually happened is these facilities are conventionally extended to presidents that leave office, and he recognizes that fact. And he's also mindful of the approval by Parliament of the Republic of Ghana on Wednesday, 4th January 2017, at the 4th session concerning this issue. So you can see in this letter he's reminding the current president of earlier agreements, earlier discourse on this very issue. But I have to stress that in the final paragraph that he is stressing that he never requested to outrightly purchase the property.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. That's my colleague, Jennifer Kwabena, bringing us extract of a letter signed by former President John Dramani Mahama, copied to the Asante and sent to President Akufo-Addo. He's actually withdrawing his request that he wanted to live in his cantonment's residence for some time. Meanwhile, Joy News checks at the construction site of the new accommodation for the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, shows the structure is almost complete for habitation. Matilda Wemega has more from cantonments.
Konsa Construction Limited. They are currently in charge of this particular project. The information I gathered is that this is going to be his official residence. As at now, we do not know when exactly they are expecting to complete this particular building. It was formerly a land which belongs to the Nigerian High Commission, which is located right behind the police headquarters at Bros Tito Avenue on the Kumaji Hospital Road, close to the Food and Research Institute of the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, located here in Accra in Cantonment. I had a chance to go inside the building to see for myself what exactly it looks like, and it's a two-story building. Progress has been made with regards to the construction. The information I gathered from some few workers on the site, though there's really nothing going on, is that for now they have halted work on the site. They do not know as to what directive has been given, but for now there's no activity going on in that particular building, but no one to speak to on when this building is going to be ready for Dr. Baumia, the Vice President, to move into this building.
We'll keenly follow development and find out from the government what happens next, since former President John Dramani Mahama has withdrawn his request to continually stay in his cantonment residence. Now, away from that, some youth who claim to be foot soldiers of the MPP have stormed lorry stations in Kumasi, seeking to take over the facilities. They are claiming financial benefit from share of the proceeds due the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Nana Asenso Mensah reports.
The attackers alleged groups aligned to the NDC have been running the stations with the city under supposed deal for mutual benefit. The Ashanti Regional Vice Chairman of GPRTU, Nana Kwame Afriye, explains the act as unlawful.
When the previous government was in power, the KMA made individuals without the requisite qualification start lorry terminals, even at areas the GPRTU was operating. They never listened to us. When this government came, we were expecting our conditions to improve. We will not allow supporters of this government to impede our rights.
The youth justified their actions, insisting they are fighting for their rights.
When their government was in power, they came here to take money. Now that our government is also there, we have to do the same.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly explains the issue is under control. Gordon Okumenyame is the spokesperson for the Assembly.
Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, we will let our revenue collectors go to those areas that the allegations are being made about. Those locations. So in the interim, that is the measure that we have taken. That the KMA will quickly send our revenue collectors there for them to start collecting the revenues at the areas that they claim are being collected by NDC macho men. That aside, the Metro Security Council is also going to meet this afternoon to actually look at the issue that is before us.
Nana Asenso Mensah reporting.
Now, a criminologist, Professor Kenneth, has condemned the seeming inaction of the police force in clamping down the rampage and seizure of government installations by suspected foot soldiers of the governing NPP. In an interview with Joy News, Professor Atefa says the police cannot afford to turn a blind eye to the acts being perpetrated by criminals under the disguise of party activism. He also charged the judiciary to deal swiftly with cases brought before the court to deter others from committing the same crime.
The law enforcement agencies ought to wake up to their tasks. If someone goes to forcibly seize property of another person or to seize public property, that person is not obeying the laws of Ghana unless they are clothed with the warrant or the appropriate judicial authorization to do so.
Otherwise, it's a criminal offense.
That's what I'm saying. In the short term, stern law enforcement, the police have no justification, no excuse whatsoever for being indolent. They cannot turn a blind eye to one act of criminality against any citizen, whether the citizen is an NDC person or an NPP or any other a person of any other political persuasion. When they fail to do that, when they look over their shoulders, waiting for their political masters to tell them what to do, then the injunction on them, the motto to which they say they subscribe, service with integrity, has failed.
We've had party executives like the national chairman of the NPP, Freddie Blay, coming out to urge foot soldiers to stop the vandalism and the seizures. We've had the national youth organizers, Samia, who also coming out to say same, but the act continues. At this point, should the president come out with a statement?
The president is the last call. I think it is pretty too early for the president to step into this fray. The president spoke on the night of his acceptance speech after he was declared the winner. That is when he called for moderation in celebration. The president spoke at the Independence Square to Ghana and to the world. And one of the clarion calls he made was an invitation to Ghanaians to become more law-abiding, to respect the law, and to allow the rule of law to work.
This is Joy News Today. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying here on Joy News Today. President Akufo-Addo yesterday presented his 13-man ministerial list to the media, a lot of them with strong financial background. Senior Research Officer at the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Kwabena Asante, says the appointments are reflective of the economic conditions Ghana finds itself, one that requires people with expertise on how to fix the economy in the helm of affairs.
There's a running theme throughout the appointments, and I think it reflects the current economic and financial challenges that we are having. The immediate task of the present government is to be able to find the fiscal space to support all of the agendas that they have promised. And one of the key areas is energy. Even the cost of energy, if you talk about the car power and the Ameri deals and so on, what we are paying for based on those deals to get power is very, very expensive. If you are talking about financing GMPC to be able to deliver on this mandate, this is huge money. So you need somebody who understands the financing of the sector in order for us to be able to get value for money and to be able to still deliver the foundations for that transformation. So you see that reflected also in Kwaku Agyeman as an accountant who is sent to health, because one of the biggest challenges we have is how we are going to achieve universal health care with NHIS, because that was meant to come and basically finance the health sector. And right now, it has serious financing challenges. So, you see that throughout the economic team that has been put together. A lot of that at Finance Ministry is all investment and finance, but you need people with the background of Asafo Mafo, maybe Akoto Osei might come in, who have development economics background and experience, because you need to be able to identify the growth sectors. How are you going to grow the economy? You might bring all the capital in, but it has to be anchored on very strong analysis of where you're going to get growth and get it quickly. So that linkage with trade and industry, for instance, is important. Somebody like Alan Tremanting, one of the things that he's credited for was a lot of his ideas that he developed when he was trade ministry. A lot of those projects didn't succeed, and there's been a lot of analysis of why that didn't happen. But it's just because of the creativity that he brought to that ministry. And this time he should learn from what happened in the past, because there was a lot of political capture and interference with a lot of the projects. If you go that way again, it's not going to happen. So there's a running theme around that. But it's important that we understand that all of this is underpinned by politics.
Yeah.
Away from ministerial appointments, the loss of huge volumes of farm produce after harvest remains a serious challenge, and that's why some students at the Kwabena Asante University of Science and Technology have invented something to deal with the problem.
Post-harvest loss is one of the major problems confronting the agricultural industry, and fruits such as this and other vegetables will take a shorter period to spoil. But a group of students from the Kwabena Asante University of Science and Technology has come up with a certain machine. And with this machine, air from outside will pass through a moist material and will cool the system. And this is the Evaporative Cooler.
Using a device known as Evaporative Cooler, the technology keeps fruits and vegetables fresh for more than 2 weeks. The cooler drops in temperature by turning liquid into gas. The process is different from typical air conditioning or refrigeration systems, which involves removal and transfer of heat from a space. A simple example of natural evaporative cooling is perspiration or sweat, whose evaporation cools the body. A porous earthenware vessel would cool water by evaporation through its walls. Evatech's evaporative cooler is equipped with solar panel to circulate water around the system. An evaporative part made from jute sack lowers the temperature as air passes through it. The system has a display glass so traders can monitor condition of the staff without touching them. Jeffrey Boachia-Piaget is team leader.
After you've set up your solar, it's water, a bucket of water that's behind. And the water is recycled. It keeps going back again, so you spend nothing. You spend nothing. It has a battery that during the day, everything will just run perfectly while the sun is out. And you can always get where the sun is by rotating the solar panel. So you also don't really care about where the point in time that you are in, as in during the day. Because wherever the sun is, you can just maneuver and then get energy. And it doesn't take much energy. It just takes 30 watts. And 30 watts can light up a bulb. Yeah, can light up a bulb. Let's say if some tomatoes get spots in 1 week after the market woman displays them, if the market woman display it in this unit, the tomatoes will get spots maybe 1 month later.
He says the unit provides ideal condition for storing even wine. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
Great work by the students there.